Moin. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's Mace coming to you from Canada. Is Germany about to bring back conscription? I don't know. Conscription, that's going to be I would say it's probably a controversial topic. I don't know. Like, I would say older generations, older people are going to be like, yeah, conscription. We support it fully. It should be mandatory. We don't have to be conscripted. So we support it. And then I feel like young people, 18 to 30, whatever it might be, are going to be like, hell no. I'm not going to fight a war. You're not going to send me to... I'm not going to mandatorily go to war for you. Conscription to me speaks of real war times. Like, I think it's sometimes hard for us to measure or even perceive what it was like say in World War II, World War I, where a lot of countries around the world had conscription because they needed to put together armies because they were fighting a world war. I don't know if we're going to, I pray and hope we don't get to that point again. Would I be conscripted? I don't know. I'm almost 40. Would I be conscripted? I don't know. Am I too old? Am I past the age bracket? And I don't know. But national defense and military, at the end of the day, as much as some people are anti-war and they might hate the thought of it, like you got to protect your country. You got to be ready to go. Ideally, you would have enough people in the military. I don't know how you incentivize people joining the military. Better pay, good pay, good benefits, good work-life. Like, it's tough, man. I don't know. I'm not in the military. I never even thought about joining the military. If Canada went to war, it's just like, it's hard to even think about it. All right, let's get to this video, though. Is Germany thinking about it? What's Mertz doing here?
Is Germany on the verge of bringing back compulsory military service? In a recent interview, Germany's defence minister, Boris Pistorius, said the government may have no choice but to bring back mandatory conscription if Germany's new military volunteer scheme fails to meet recruitment goals. And it's not just talk. A new bill is in the works, which may be ready by January 2026. So in this video, we're going to have a look at Germany's voluntary military service scheme, why it probably won't work, and whether this might fall...
And I know there is countries that you have to serve a minimum amount of time. I'm just thinking... South Korea, I think you have to serve a minimum of 2 years, I think.
The return of mandatory conscription.
I don't know if it's a minimum of 2 years before you're 25 or what exactly it is, but over the age of 18, I believe you have to.
Who's the worst politician right now? Hear our thoughts and argue with us on our podcast, The World Leader Leaderboard. Find it over on the TLDR podcast.
Get to it, I don't care.
YouTube channel or...
Traveling solo.
Oh, God. I got to get YouTube Plus or YouTube Stream, whatever they call the golden YouTube these days, whatever.
Cold War, when thousands of Warsaw Pact tanks were expected to pour through the Fulda Gap, compulsory military service existed in nearly every European country. In West Germany, conscription was introduced in 1956, and until the 1990s, the West German military, the Bundeswehr, had nearly 500,000 troops. However, beginning in the early 2000s, many European states phased out conscription in favour of professional volunteer armies. The reasoning was that the post-Cold War security environment no longer warranted mass mobilisation. In 2011, under a CDU-CSU-FDP coalition government, Germany suspended conscription, though it never removed it from the constitution, and was one of the last countries in Europe to do so. As a result, the size of the Bundeswehr shrank dramatically, and today troop numbers stand at around 181,500.
181,000 is nothing to scoff at, and I think military warfare has changed dramatically since the numbers would have been at 500,000. There's so much digital warfare now, drones, aircraft, fighting from the air. It's not like you're going to have... I guess you would still be a need for tanks and soldiers on the ground and infantry, but I don't know, man. I feel like warfare has changed so much, and the current geopolitical climate as well. It's just...
Whereas in 1990, West Germany alone was able to field 215 combat battalions, by 2015, even with Germany reunited, that had fallen to 33, a remarkable 84% cut. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, this downsizing, accompanied by a stagnation in recruitment numbers, caused some serious anxiety amongst military officials who warned that the country needs to be war-ready within the next 5 to 8 years. This, combined with the Trump administration's recent disengagement with Europe and NATO's updated defence spending requirements, prompted the new German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, to commit to a massive increase in the size of the German army and its defence budget, facilitated by more borrowing. To meet NATO targets, senior German officials now estimate around 80,000 more professional soldiers will need to be enlisted over the next 10 years. To this end, in the coalition agreement the CDU struck with the SPD, Germany agreed to introduce a new model of military service. Based on Sweden's volunteer model, the government's new recruitment scheme will see eligibility questionnaires sent to all German 18-year-olds, a percentage of whom...
So that's where it comes in, like, I feel like the young generations are not going to be on board with this. Like, you're 18, so hey, you better get signed up there, buddy.
Will then be invited to join the Bundeswehr. The reintroduction of military
Whereas the 48-year-old is going to be saying, have fun, bud.
Service in this way was considered far more politically palatable than reintroducing conscription in one fell swoop, as the CDU had been pushing for. And it's something that Pistorius had been pushing for a while, formalising a nearly identical scheme last autumn, before his plan to do so was scuppered by the early election. However, while the programme aims to recruit about 5,000 volunteers annually, there's already concerns that it'll fall short.
When he says volunteers, what exactly does it... Because Canadian military, you can join the military and you're a professional, like, that's your job, right? I assume that's what he means. Like, does he just means that they volunteer to join the military? Because a lot of people are career military people. They work military their entire lives.
Years of underfunding have left the Bundeswehr crumbling and really neglected, and just simply not an attractive enough career to pull in young people.
Oh, okay.
The average age of the German soldier is now 34, and creeping upwards. Even with perks like free train travel, medical care, and advanced training programs, a tight labour market means that young people are looking elsewhere, often for better paying private sector jobs, which explains why the Bundeswehr has had particular struggles recruiting for tech critical roles like IT, engineering, and aviation. It's also been struggling to retain existing soldiers. In 2020,
pay them more. I don't know.
23, for instance, 18,800 people enlisted, but over 25% of them quit during the initial 6-month trial period. And while 2024 saw a record number of applications, up 18% from the previous year, nearly 3,000 soldiers still left the force, a steep jump from the 200 who left in 2021. We should say here that Germany isn't the only country struggling with recruitment. In 2022, Czechia succeeded in recruiting only 176 new soldiers, and in 2023, the UK experienced a net loss of 5,600 personnel, with more service members leaving than joining. Anyways, as a result, senior German lawmakers, particularly those in Merz's CDU party, have argued that Germany needs to immediately introduce compulsory enlistment. And Pistorius, despite being the champion for the voluntary plan, has also said that Berlin won't shy away from a return to full conscription if numbers don't significantly...
All I can say is anybody who supports conscription better be willing to be conscripted. If you support it, you better be willing to go yourself. Or else, shut up.
Significantly improve, and is planning to include such a provision in a bill which will be presented to Parliament after the summer break. But how easy will it be to actually bring back universal conscription? Well, technically speaking, reintroducing it would be relatively straightforward. The suspension of conscription in 2011 was never formalised by removing it from the Constitution, so it could be reactivated without a major legal overhaul. That said, the politics are...
What did that say? I just want to look at that for a second. Men who have attained the age of 18 may be required to serve in the armed forces, in the federal border police, or in the civil defense position. Okay. So if you've turned 18 and does that get relinquished at a certain age, or is it just 18 no matter how old you are? You know, a 54-year-old is going to be conscripted.
A major legal overhaul. That said, the politics are tricky, and there are still 3 challenges for Merz & Co here. First, the bill might struggle to gain enough support in Parliament. For instance, while conscription for men is still enshrined in the country's basic law, for this to be extended to women by way of an amendment, a 2/3 majority would be needed, meaning the governing coalition would need approval.
I mean, it's 2025. I would say, yeah, women should be included. Like, what are we? We're still just...
of the Greens and Left Party, the latter of which
if it
is
was to happen,
fundamentally
that's all I'm
opposed
saying.
to conscription. Merz and Pistorius will also need to convince SPD lawmakers who historically have been more keen on voluntary conscription. Second, Pistorius has admitted the Bundeswehr does not yet have the barracks and manpower to train hundreds of thousands of young conscripts each year anyways. The army currently has 15,000 available spots for voluntary military service, and around 10,000 of those are already filled. Bringing in hundreds of thousands of new recruits could strain resources and undermine operational readiness. Finally, young Germans are quite anti-military. A recent YouGov poll found that whilst 54%
I feel like a lot of young people are going to be anti-military. Sorry.
of Germans support
We don't want to go to war and die because some old people told us to.
reintroducing conscription, only 1 in 3 people aged 18 to 29 are in favour, compared to 2/3 of those over 70. This might partly explain the appeal of parties that describe themselves as pro-peace, namely the far-right AfD and far-left Die Linke, becoming extremely popular among young people after nearly half of voters aged 18 to 24 cast their ballots for these two parties in the parliamentary elections in February. Both parties oppose arming Ukraine and are somewhat sceptical of NATO, and a study by the University of Amsterdam found that the voter base of these radical parties are generally less inclined to fight for their country compared to those who back Merz's centrist CDU. So, to avoid returning to compulsory conscription, the Bundeswehr will need to make military service more attractive through better pay, conditions, and career prospects.
That's what I was saying earlier. Better pay, better career prospects, etc. Like, you got to make it more attractive to people to join.
If they're unable to do so, then perhaps a return to conscription may very well be on the cards. Now, when talking about topics like these, it's important to be precise, and precision is also crucial to our sponsor this week, Henson Shaving. Henson's AL13...
Alright, is this an advertisement for Henson Shavings the rest of the video? Alright, please let me know in the comments, you guys, your thoughts on this topic. It's certainly an interesting one. And, humans penchant for fighting, military. We still... This is crazy. I was thinking earlier in the video, like, isn't it crazy? Every single country, like, every country, we need militaries to be able to potentially just kill each other, invade each other, fight each other. In perpetuity, it seems, until the human race wipes itself out. I don't know. I'll go watch Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Love the Bomb again. All right. Peace.